they kind of like both look at me. Well, wait a minute now. I'm thinking, I just said I was not going to talk about that, right? So I was evasive. But Joe, you can like, you'll see, like I'm trying to not talk about it. And Joe, no, whoa, come on, what do you know? So I mentioned that, well, I'd been talking to this inventor for about 7 years, and he's been developing these technologies using plasma, and it's frequency-based, right? And at this point, I already knew that the thunderstorm generator, and I'll show you pictures of one now that's been retrofitted on a 300 kilowatt generator on a substation outside of London. And they're testing the damn thing. And it works. It does what it's predicted to do, right? Now, I knew at the time, this is February, a year ago last month, I knew that there was a whole series of testing coming up the next summer, which was last summer. And I was present at some of these tests and saw for myself what was happening, and was able to, there with an admiral, a retired admiral from the Indian Navy, flew all the way over from India to be there present at this testing that was at a major industrial laboratory at one of the research labs out in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's all at this point that I can say about it, but until the final test results are published. But I was there, saw it working, saw 2 generators, a control generator, and one with the technology. I watched as the engineers and the scientists there calibrated them both. And then I was the one who went up and started both generators. They're both in 2 separate rooms. Started the technology on one of the generators. And so we've got readouts. We've got gas analyzers there, probes going up into the exhausts of the generators. We've got a couple of guys there with mass spectrometers hooked up. So we've got multiple ways of determining what's coming out of the exhaust pipes of these 2 generators, right?
Yeah.
I go up there and I flip the switch on the one that has the thunderstorm, I'll call it the thunderstorm, the plasma generating retrofit to it. And we watch. So we got a first read. I can show you, actually. I've got a printout of the readouts right here on my computer.
Really?
Yeah, I do. And you can see you've got, I think it's called a Kane 5 something, because it measures 5 gases. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, other methane, other hydrocarbons, probably like methane and whatever else, and oxygen. Okay, so flip the technology on. You can sit there, I can watch the mass spectrometer, I can watch the gas analyzer. You're looking at like 10% or parts per million. Let's see. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and oxygen were in percentages. Methane and nitrogen oxide were in parts per million. So basically, oxygen is like at a 4 or 5% coming out of the exhaust, which is about typical for a generator like that. You got, I think, like 10, 11 was it 12% of CO2, CO, etc. So as you're watching it, here's what happens. The carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, hydrocarbons, and nitrogen oxides start going down. Oxygen starts coming up.
Interesting.
CO2 zeroes out. Carbon monoxide zeroes out. The nitrogen oxides go down to just a few parts per million, as does the other hydrocarbons. Oxygen tops out at over 20, I don't remember exactly, between 20 and 21%, which is optimum percentage of oxygen for pure unpolluted air. So what is now coming out of the generator, the generator with the technology, is pure unpolluted air.
No kidding.
No kidding. No
Whoa.
kidding. Yeah. On top of that, what it's doing, it's capturing everything that's coming out, and it's feeding it back into the thunderstorm generator. So at the initial in order to get the plasma separation to occur, I think you have to get it up to like 700 and some degrees. But once you do that, it's almost, not quite, but almost self-perpetuating. And you just have to replenish the water. Like I forget, however few hundred hours that it runs, you have to replenish the water. And that's it.
Man, and you've seen this.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. And I've known, multiple people now that have seen it. The admiral, he took it back to India. India is seriously looking at it and as a retrofit for their Navy.
Man.
The industrial, and I can show you this on the computer too. I've got photographs of like the big industrial scale application on the 300 kilowatt Perkins generator on the substation in London. I mean, they're testing it, and they may start retrofitting all of their because it doubles to triples the efficiency of these engines.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. I'm still trying to figure out. Listen, I was in kindergarten 2 years ago. Now I'm in first grade. But when I was there at this testing, I'm seeing these scientists, physicists and engineers stuff, they're all scratching their heads, going, okay, we see this, but they've been struggling for a year now to explain what is actually happening. There's a fellow by the name of Bob Grenier, who I think has probably come as close as anybody. He's head of the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. Martin Fleischmann was one of the pioneers in these alternative energies, particularly working with plasma. Brilliant mind. He came on board about a year ago, and he was there was a Tesla Tech conference in last summer in Albuquerque, and my pal and partner in HowTube.com did the live streaming out to, I don't know, a couple of thousand people around the world that paid to be able to witness. And what they did in front of a live audience on a stage is they brought in a generator and retrofitted it right there. And as a result of that, several things happened. From there, it went to this research lab in North Carolina. From there, it went to a conference in Zurich where it was presented. Malcolm then went and spent 2 months in India demonstrating and building prototypes. And so, I mean, this is the phase where it's at now. Let's see, what else?
So they're really looking at this.
What?
People are really paying attention to this.
People are starting to pay attention to this. Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a really interesting video that I would recommend watching. It's an interview with the gentleman is named George Lush. He works in high performance metals. He contracts, he's third generation. Their company, I think, was founded in 1951. He's contracts to the aerospace industry and NASA and all of this, these high performance alloys and stuff. And he did the annealing of this thunderstorm generator in England. And there's an interview, like a 20-minute interview with him afterwards, and it's really worth watching because he says, I'm the biggest skeptic around. And what I saw can't happen. What I saw is impossible, but I saw it. He's there with his, he had a thermal analyzer. And we've got videos of him here and there testing as this stream of stuff is moving through these cylinders and pipes and stuff. And literally with 4 inches, the temperature can change by over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And he says, this is impossible. He says, I kept testing and testing and testing with my thermal analyzer, and it came up the same every time. He says, I'm not sure what, he says, we're just at the beginning of trying to figure out what the hell is happening here. But then he went in to discuss the potential applications of it. Now, one of the big questions is okay, when you do look at these readouts, okay, carbon dioxide, the other things go down. In some cases, zero out. In other cases, it doesn't zero out entirely, but it's only a small fraction of what it had been. Meanwhile, the oxygen's gone up. So then the question, okay, where did the carbon dioxide go? Where'd the carbon monoxide go? Well, it looks like it somehow got transmuted on the atomic level into oxygen. And how bizarre that the concentration of oxygen coming out of the exhaust pipes is the optimum oxygen that we would want for unpolluted, breathable air. And that's what's coming out.
Man, that is.
And George Howard was there. I watched him do this. He got down with his mouth right there and started huffing the plasmoids or whatever coming out, to show, yeah. He did the same thing at the Tesla Tech conference in Albuquerque. We've got it on video, him getting down there and huffing. It's a running joke now, that he got down there and was, and they initially started up the generator on the stage, and once the generator got warmed up, the fumes coming out got so strong that they had to move the generator out onto the loading dock. Then they turned the technology on, and within a few minutes, instead of all this pollutant and stuff coming out, it's air.